everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Chin-Quee Chats, the bitesized podcast where we talk movies, sports, and everything in between. I'm your host, Matthew Chin-Quee, and today I am joined by a good friend, an old friend of mine, Mr. Paul Lee. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm really full from the sushi we just ate. We picked Paul up on the bus stop and we went and cut sushi and ate probably way too much, ordered way too much.
I'm trying to gain. That's my excuse.
I don't have an excuse. We ended up eating octopus balls for the first time.
Those were interesting. They were a lot squishier than I expected.
They had this weird texture when you bit into it, and it was too hot.
It was.
I mean, you kept that mistake. You kept making that mistake of eating them, and you kept burning. And just looking at it, he's like, "What are you doing, man? What are you?"
I commit, man. I commit.
So we've known each other for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of food, we were just talking about food. We sort of almost became friends, kind of, about food. That's one of the first things I remember about you. So I knew you way back in I don't even know what year it was. I want to say 2006, maybe.
Sure.
It was that long ago.
It was a while ago. Yeah.
It was before high school.
Oh yeah.
So
for sure.
we both played house league basketball called Wild Hawks, which is the local house league that we have.
So yeah.
Yeah, that we have in our area. And Paul had just I think I can just you were pretty straight off the boat, kind of.
Yeah, I would say so. Like our whole family was sort of like I went to the States before that, but like this was I was new to Canada. Yeah, I think you're gonna talk about my Canadian citizenship, like the day that I got it, and I don't know why someone publicized it during one of the Wild Hawks, like one of the days. I don't remember, like that I just got my Canadian citizenship, and I was talking about like the cookies I got after, and they were so delicious. Oh my goodness, they were like home cooked and like home baked, and such a good time. Yeah,
that's what I remember. First issue, I think it's during these Wild Hawk practices, we get the entire group there, and the coach Dave McNeil would get up and do his little announcement, and it's like, clap once if you hear me, try to get everybody's attention. Then he's like, well, we have to celebrate something, or a very special announcement, and one of our own has just become a citizen. And then I don't know how, I think we were on the same team. Maybe we started talking.
I think so. Yeah.
And you were like, those are the best cookies I've ever had. I'm like, why can't I be that? Why can't I not be a citizen? But you were coming from South Korea, right?
Yeah.
How long did you live there for?
Not too long, actually. Like I stayed there. I only know grades, right? So I stayed there before grade school, so like pre-K.
Oh, so you weren't there very long.
No. And then
So you've been in North America for most of your life then?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, haven't gone back actually. I would like to go back to South Korea, but haven't had the chance to just yet.
Not best Korea, right?
I'm a quarter, right?
I'm gonna stop this podcast. So this is my podcast where we talk about mostly movies. So without any further ado, let's get right into the cinema chat segment.
Sure.
All right, so cinema chats. Now, I'm probably the bigger movie fan out of the two of us. I mean, in high school, I wasn't the biggest movie fan. I mean, I like movies. I don't know if anybody doesn't like movies.
Yeah. You talked a lot about movies and like films and TV shows. I remember, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it was as much as it was now. I watch a lot of mainstream stuff. I mean, I'm a hipster. I watch all the indie stuff, but I do watch more indie stuff now. But tell me about your movie experience. Like, what type of movies do you watch? Or
I like to watch like fun, lighthearted movies. Like, I'm not a big movie fan. Like, I do like the sort of the mainstream ones that you talked about, like the Avengers and like. Things like that, but like I'm a fan of anything with music as well. Actually, like La La Land is a big one that I watched very recently. Moana is another big one. Like I just really love the music, and the stories are nice too. Like they accompany it well. So that's sort of my where my interests lie. Yeah.
So you wouldn't say you'd be watching like something came out with like Moonlight, one of the more dramatic movies, like the more heavy movies. It's not really in your wheelhouse.
Not often, no, but I do enjoy those as well. It's just I don't get to watch them as often. Yeah.
Now, honestly, and there's something to be said about watching those fun movies. Like if I'm having a bad day, I'm not gonna turn on like Schindler's List or something like that and get really depressed, or watch a dramatic movie where I don't know, people are breaking up and getting killed or something like that. I'm gonna turn on a fun, more Disney movie. You mentioned Moana, do you like other Disney movies then? Is that what you tend to gravitate to as well? Or?
Yeah, like I was a big Frozen fan when it came out.
I remember.
Yeah. Like not so much the story. Like honestly, the animation is beautiful. Like the music is wonderful. Like it's just a feel good movie, right? And that's the kind of thing I enjoy. Like, you know, I'm not there necessarily like, to think about deep things. Like I could do that anytime, but like with movies, I just want to enjoy the experience and get something like good and wholesome out of it, you know?
Yeah, I remember when Frozen came out, it was around grade 12, I think. We were both in grade 12, and we were singing the song. It's like, yeah, it was kind of a thing, like, we weren't going to go out and admit, oh, yeah, we love listening to Frozen. No. But, you know what, the songs are still great. I still like the songs. They're good.
Yeah. They're fun. Songs. They're fun.
Yeah, the movie, that's all right, but, I mean, again, there is something to be said about just watching the movie and not having to sit there and analyze it. Mm-hmm. I mean, this kind of might sound like first world problems coming from me, but when you start to see more movies, you get more of an analytical eye on it.
Right.
And that's not necessarily, it's not even necessarily a conscious thing. Like you're looking at it and you see, not to sound like overly pretentious, it's not like, it's like, oh, the lighting there is pretty bad, or like the shots are not that great. Right. And I'm not thinking that the entire time. I'm not like watching Moana for example and be like, oh, the animation there is just awful. I can't watch this. No, I'm not doing that. But there are certain things that bother me a little bit more. But I feel like when you don't see as much movies, when you do see the great movies, you might enjoy them a little bit more.
Right. So like, what kind of things do you look out for when you?
There's a lot when you start to see more movies, you get a sense of who's really the better actors too.
Yeah.
And you can see those little ticks, like not even just the spoken words, it's the nonverbal actions. You can see when sometimes the actor's not fully into it. Like we were talking about prequel memes earlier, but there's a scene that a lot of Star Wars fans have seen, and I've seen a lot in episode 3 where Obi-Wan is telling Padme that Anakin's turned to the dark side, and for a split second there you can see him smile.
Really?
Yeah, you can see him. He's like covering his face. You guys obviously can't see my face, but he's covering his face, and then you can see him smile. He's like, "You killed younglings," and you can see a smirk there.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that. I mean, that's a really extreme example. It's a pretty obvious example, but it's stuff like that where you really tend to pick up a little bit more, and it can bother you a little bit. But a lot of the times, as long as I'm enjoying the movie, just brush it back to the back of my mind.
Right.
You know.
For some reason, I was sure you were going to talk about, like, Anakin's dialogue about sand. Like, I was just waiting for you to talk about that.
Oh, no, that's garbage. That's awful. Although, I did like that as a kid. Growing up with Star Wars, you kind of like the prequels just because it's the only thing that you grew up in. Like, we were both born in 96. We're not born, we were born after the original trilogy came out. So we grew up with the prequels. Well, oh, I mean, I grew up. I'm not sure if you grew up.
I did too, as well. Yeah.
But there's a sense of that's a more fun playfulness that you get with them. And George Lucas has said that Star Wars is a kid movie. He wanted it to be a kid movie.
Right.
But it did end up capturing the attention of other people. But anyways, everything always ends up coming back to Star Wars for me. But you did mention La La Land, and what about La La Land did you really love about it? Because it was tied for my favorite movie of last year.
I just really liked the way that like it was shot. Like it felt very real, you know. Like the characters themselves, they weren't like out there, you know. They were very real, and like I felt like I could relate to them, and that realness was something that like I was looking for in a movie, just because I guess it was new to me, right? So I grew up with like more fun, more wild movies, and then this thing like this La La Land, like very real, very and at the same time, right? The songs are amazing, and the music is amazing, and that just all tied together, just you know, it's a perfect package for me. So I enjoyed it a lot. The story wasn't like phenomenal in my opinion, but it was enough to get something going, and like it was really fun to watch. Yeah,
the story in La La Land, it's not, I mean, even I'll admit it's not anything that you haven't seen before. But that is also as a symptom of like other movies altogether. There was an author that said I don't remember who it was. It was a long time ago too. That every story ever has already been told. It's the way you tell it.
Right.
But you're right. You're right about the characters like Mia and Sebastian. There's the little things like even if we're not actresses. We're not actresses, struggling actresses live in LA. But there's certain things where you can really understand. I mean, we both have struggled looking for jobs, like even just for someone coming out of school, and you can see her struggling to get those roles and having the door close on you like that when you're trying your hardest. And then there's Sebastian, who's really passionate about something, and there's other people who aren't as passionate, and then obviously the love aspect too.
Right.
But yeah, I completely agree with the characters. That's a lot of what drew me in. Also, the music by Justin Hurwitz, who's really good, and we're both people who like musicals. We both like to sing. We used to sing in high school.
Right.
We're not going to do it now because
maybe later.
Maybe later. Maybe after this, we'll do a musical episode. Maybe a little bit in the future, we'll do a full musical episode. We'll write it and do that.
Sounds great.
Yeah, but you were talking about the shots and. I agree too. Yeah. Again, this is going back to more technical side. It's some of the cinematography in that. It's just beautiful. Like the planetarium scene, when they're dancing.
Yeah. Beautiful scene.
Yeah. I've been looking for the longest time to try to find a background of that. Just when they're dancing through in the silhouettes, and it's so good. But I also every time I watch that scene now, did you ever see that skit that Jimmy Fallon did? For the Golden Globes, where him and Justin Timberlake, they reenact that and they're dancing. It's for the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
So it's just Jimmy Fallon sitting there playing piano, and he has the little hair string, but he attached it on, and it's just hanging there like this. And then you just see Justin Timberlake, he's on top of the grand piano. He's like, "That was beautiful." And then and Jimmy Fallon's like, "Should we dance?" He's like, "Yep." And they dance like through the stars, and it's so funny. It's so great.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's part of what I think when I see that. But, I mean, my dad actually just went to the Griffith Planetarium.
Oh, really?
Planetarium. Observatory. I'm trying to combine the words. I want to go there someday. Have you ever been to LA or ever been there?
I actually have not, but this is like one of those movies that kind of convinced me, like it looks so glamorous and so nice. Yeah, it's definitely a place that I would like to go.
I mean, I think even the city of LA, they love that film. They, just recently they announced that they're going to have a La La Land day, a day dedicated to La La Land.
Really?
I don't really know what that means.
Yeah, how does that work?
Like, I don't know if people are just dancing in the streets, like wearing dresses and stuff. But I mean, I guess the guys are. I mean, they can if they want to, but like, I don't know if the guys are dressing up like people in La La Land. But I don't really know what La La Land Day means, but the city of LA, they do love it, and it is a beautiful city.
Right. Yeah.
I've been there once, and it is nice. But you mentioned before that while you're not the biggest movie fan, your roommates are. So what type of movies have you been watching recently?
Yeah. So like my one housemate that I was staying with that I told you about earlier on, he really likes The Revenant. He's watched it I think 4 or 5 times now. So he watched it with me this time. It was a good movie. Like it was very new, and again, like I really enjoyed the way it was shot. You've probably seen it as well. Yeah, for sure. And it was just very new to me, and like it was a nice thriller, and I really liked it, and it was beautiful. Like the landscapes were amazing to see, and I kind of fell in with the Leo character, the classic, like the person who's lost everything, has nothing left to lose, and so they just pursue whatever they need to do, like to get that little bit of fulfillment, that revenge that they're seeking. That kind of character was just, I guess, like interesting to watch. Yeah,
a man who's solely driven by revenge, and that's literally his only.
Yeah.
And that, I thought that was pretty cool with The Revenant. And that is a little bit, it is a lot different than a more fun movie. It's a pretty heavy movie.
Oh, yeah.
The guy gets almost killed by a bear and betrayed by
that was insane.
A Tom Hardy who's constantly mumbling. I don't know how many movies you've seen with Tom Hardy, but this dude is always mumbling. I don't know why. He doesn't know how to articulate his sentences in movies.
He also looks completely different in every single movie that I've seen.
Yeah. He is one of the best actors.
He is. Yeah, he's incredible. He really fills the role,
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't even realize that he's Bane in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, no, I totally didn't know that. Yeah, I had to search that up. It was crazy.
And again, he's muffled in that movie too. he's being typecast or something for some reason as being muffled. But The Revenant, again, another movie that's shot beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another one of the problems that I had with it. I felt like it was just a series of beautiful shots with a good story in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I also felt that Leo was trying really hard to win an Oscar. Like this movie screamed, "Give me an Oscar, please! I'm desperate." Like, I mean, who sleeps in a horse? In a horse, you don't need to do that. Like, you're a pretty rich dude, man. Just ask for them to make a fake horse. You can do it. It's called acting for a reason. You should be able to act. I mean, he definitely deserved it, but I also think Michael Fassbender. I don't know if you ended up seeing last year was the Steve Jobs movie. It was 2015 was the year that The Revenant came out.
Right.
But Michael Fassbender played Steve Jobs, and that was a really great performance too. He really captured. A lot of people don't know about Steve Jobs. So I mean, I guess if you see the movie, you know it now. But he was multifaceted. He had obviously his on-stage persona where he was presenting the Apple products, but he also had a lot of problems with his family. Like, he wasn't the best dad, or he wasn't really the best guy. But I think a lot of the times he meant well, and he was trying to push his brand forward and trying to do the best for his family. But Michael Fassbender is really good in that. I thought he maybe deserved it more than Leo in The Revenant.
Really, huh?
But just because it kind of reeked a little bit of desperation. But Leo also did deserve it back for Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know if you've seen that movie either.
I haven't, no, but definitely on my list, yeah.
That's also a really long one. But that would actually kind of also fall in the category of fun. Kind of.
Right.
It's a lot of drugs. it's fun in the way that you know that this is something you would never do.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's out there.
It's over the top. Yeah. Like there's a scene that a lot of people point to. It's like he should have won the Oscar for that, where he pops these pills called Quaaludes, and it takes a while to kick in, so he takes more. So then it kicks in, and he's literally crawling back to his car up the stairs. He's like, and he can't crawl back, and it's weird. But so, are there any other movies that you've seen in the past year that you really liked or you'd like to talk about?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, like, aside from the fun movies, like, I told you that I liked fun movies, but there were some, like, not so fun movies that stood out for me, which is, I guess, why I thought of The Revenant. Another one, The Green Room. Have you heard about it?
I've heard of it, but it's, I'm not the biggest horror guy, and I heard it's kind of horror, because I get scared really easily.
It's like a thriller, almost horror, I guess. It's, like, it's about, like, these bunch of guys, like, they're playing at a place, like, they have a gig, essentially, and what they don't realize,
like, just like a band, then?
Yeah, they're a band, and they're playing at this gig, but they didn't realize that it's run by neo-Nazis.
Oh,
and they like discover like some of the things that they're doing, and the neo-Nazis are trying to cover it up, and it's just like a back and forth. The band trying to escape, and the neo-Nazis trying to like keep them in place, and like figure all this out, right? Like keep their secrets, essentially. And like, one of the things that really stood out to me about this movie is it's just the way that everything was filmed. So like, it felt very real, like La La Land. Like, I felt like I was just, in the room with everything going on. Like, it was very silent throughout a lot of the scenes, and it just felt very real, and it kept me on the edge. And I think that's what really stood out to me for this movie. And like, yeah, like, that also makes me think of The Revenant and La La Land, like, sort of put together, I guess, like the thriller of Revenant and the style of La La Land, the realist style put together into this one movie.
And a lot of horror movies, they do like to put music in, the classic, the violin thing. I'm not going to do it. I already made one weird noise in this podcast, so I don't want to have this soundbite of weird noises, but there is, when you're watching a thriller or a horror, when it's completely silent, and you know that there's something lurking around the corner, you know that they're being chased.
Right.
That almost makes it scarier than the music. And whoever's listening to this, they know that I'm a big scores and soundtracks guy. I really appreciate scores, but sometimes silence is better, especially when you're really trying to build up tension, and it's just quiet for a second, and then boom, it's a jump scare or it's a red herring or it's nothing actually happening. But I honestly, I'd heard of the movie, and I know that a lot of people liked it, but I didn't really know what it was about. I knew it involved neo-Nazis, but I thought it was more horror. But the way you described it, I actually might actually go check it out.
Yeah.
It might not actually be that scary, because I don't.
It's more thriller than horror, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's going to conclude the cinema chat segment. So we're going to be right back, and we're going to talk about some more music stuff, because we both like musicals and like music. So we'll be back. All right. So we're going to move on to the free chat segment, and kind of staying on topic with musicals we brought up before. You feature musicals. You're involved in the production as both an actor and a producer and writer in musicals. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
For sure, yeah. So in our university, like within our faculty, we have like an annual musical that we hold. And ever since first year, I was involved with it. I started off in the cast and chorus, like I was actually part of the chorus, like in the background. But through the years, I sort of like got higher and higher in my position, in my roles. Yeah, became the main cast, one of the members of the main cast last year. I had a lot of fun with that. And then this year, in my final year of university, I decided to take on the role of producer, as you mentioned. So right now, like, we're in the works of writing the actual musical, getting it ready before we start casting people in September, October, etc. And yeah, like the process has been so much fun right now. Like, I really, really love writing these musicals, and because again, like, this is for fun, really. It's just a way for students to express themselves, have a space to, create and to perform. And so the way that we're sort of making this musical right now is just that same, like, the fun for everyone, like, nothing serious, I guess. Like I mentioned, like, I really like fun things as well. Like, so we're just trying to make a very fun musical for everyone, and it's been a great experience so far.
Now, you said it was in your faculty, and I know you're a science student. I label science just one big thing. It's just, I see math or science, like, that's science stuff. I'm not touching that. So, how does that work with the musical aspect? Is it more of a talking about chemistry? I don't really know, like singing about oxygen or something. I'm not sure.
I see what you mean. Yeah. There are definitely like themes, sort of science-y themes in our musicals, I guess. So, like, I'm in health science, and, like, I guess the students here in this program, like, they enjoy the humanities as much as they enjoy, like, the sciences. So we don't just talk, like, chemistry, biology, but there are, like, themes in our musical that usually relate to our faculty and about health and like, medicine and things like that. Those do pop up, but actually, like, our production team this year, we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to make it more accessible to everyone. So that everyone can have fun at our musical. So less on the science side for this year, I think, for sure.
So, like, for example, what was last year's play about then? Like, what was the story? Like, it had a story through line, obviously. Like, what would it?
Yeah. So last year actually was also kind of an exception in the sense that it was our 10th year anniversary. So essentially, what our musical was about was the first house-sized musical. So it was about, like, it was like the origin story of the health sciences musical. So it was just about this team who came up with the idea, this led by, like, a very, very strong-minded director who ends up, like, stepping on people just to get what they want, and that leads to intergroup conflict, and then people just sort of, like, come together and resolve it, and the ending's, of course, like a happy ending where everyone figures out the problems and works them out, and it's a fun ending. So it's been kind of like that for the past few years as well. The year before, it was about competition within the program. Like, everyone was assigned a rank, which apparently Waterloo does, but, like, we're at Mac, they don't actually do that. So everyone's assigned a rank, and, like, the person who got the top rank would get this prized possession, like this trophy at the end. And it was just about, like, people manipulating and, like, trying to get that trophy, and the ending was just, like, people realizing that it's really not that worth it, kind of thing. So trying to always reinforce that positive message and that fun message. Yeah.
So you guys going for any Tonys?
we're far from that. We're definitely far from that, but yeah.
So you act in these too then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't because in high school I didn't.
Oh yeah.
Did you just kind of pick it up or?
Yeah, it was strange. It was, I don't know, when I auditioned in first year, it was just like a YOLO moment. Like I'm just like, you know what? I like music. I like singing. I love dancing, whatever. And acting, it seems fun. So I gave it a shot and I did get a chance to play in it. So yeah, you're right. Like in high school, we didn't really, no, I wasn't really involved with theater or
no.
Like we would have jam sessions, right? Like during lunch, like we
piano,
play on the piano, just singing our songs
with our little box thing.
Yeah, the little black box. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember like the types of songs that we were singing? Like Ed Sheeran was one of them.
Yeah.
John Mayer.
A lot of the songs, mostly that was just within our own vocal range. That we could sing.
That's so true. Yeah.
That's a really good transition, actually. Because I wanted to talk a little bit about Ed Sheeran because we both really like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We really like him. I mean, we both. I know he's really blown up over the past 2 years since he released Multiply. I don't know if to call it X or Multiply. I've always called it X, but like it's Multiply, obviously. But
right.
But like some of his more pop stuff, I know we're both not the biggest fans of. We're more of his. We're really into some hipster here, more of his more indie style stuff, the quieter, more acoustical sounds.
Right.
So what did you think of his last album, Divide?
Oh yeah. At the beginning, I was not into it at all. Like when he released like Shape of You,
I didn't like that song.
No, I didn't. And I'm still not the biggest fan of Castle on the Hill. It is growing on me. Like
me too.
I think all the songs are slowly starting to grow on me, but I do definitely like from the new album, like some of his more acoustic, more slow songs, like How Would You Feel and like Hearts Don't Break Around Here.
I like
those
Perfect.
And Perfect as well. Yeah, those kind of songs I do enjoy them a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that a lot of the music I'm listening to is maybe this is like my selfish, almost show business mind going, but like I only really like listening to music that I know I can sing. I can sing because anytime I'm listening to music, I'd like to jam out to it, and that's why I like listening to Ed Sheeran. I can kind of match almost kind of that vocal range when he goes really high. I'm just like, I'll just sit here and not do it, but. Yeah, Castle on the Hill has actually really grown on me lately, but it is one of those more pop songs, poppy ones that I'm not the biggest fan of or where he's transitioning to. Like he has those hordes of people that follow him around and, the stands, like the One Direction almost type fans that also I'm not being a fan of. I really preferred it when he was more low key. But there is something to be said, even if the people who are listening aren't the biggest fan of more pop music, I think he is still one of the most talented musicians.
Oh, for sure.
Live, like even if you don't like his music, just look up one of his concerts and the way it's literally just him with a guitar, and you don't see that very often. Him with a guitar, uses a loop pedal, he uses his own guitar as a percussion instrument, and he sounds exactly the same way that he sounds on his album, and you don't see that a lot with a lot of pop stars.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't even consider him a pop star. But more of a pop artist sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's really unique, I think, with the way he makes his music.
And he's a performer. Like he really enjoys it, and he knows how to like gauge the crowd and like, get them involved. And yeah, it's awesome.
There's one performance that I really used to listen to where it was one of his songs off his first album. Plus edition.
Yeah, what would you call that?
I think he calls it plus.
Plus?
I think he calls it plus.
That would make sense.
Actually, as a side note, that video I sent Paul a video a few days ago about how Ed Sheeran writes every song, and the guy was parroting it, and his latest album was going to be the quadratic formula. I was like, I don't remember the quadratic formula, but it was like that. But anyways, I don't know what he's going to do after he runs out of the basic operations. But anyways, off his first album, Give Me Love, which is my favorite song off the first album, and he uses the crowd to help sing with him. He's like, all right, I'm going to split you guys sing this part, you guys sing this part, I'm going to use you guys as the background, and I'm going to sing over it. And that's really unique. I don't see many artists doing that, especially when he's just by himself. It's really creative, and I really think he has a really good musical mind, and he writes for a lot of other people too. I know.
Oh yeah, Justin Bieber. Yeah, like the "Love Yourself" was by him.
Was his song? I think.
Yeah.
So,
very talented.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people might give him flack just for being more poppy, but I think he's more talented than a lot of the other pop stars out there.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But anyways, that actually concludes the free chat segment, and we are at a time. I didn't go that far over time this time, as I usually actually go over, even though this is only the third episode. So, but the last two episodes have gone over. But I'm really happy you were able to come on.
Thanks for having me, man.
Hopefully we can do this again. Is there anything that you'd like to shout out, anybody or your show that you'd like to kind of see where you can get stuff for that?
Yeah. Like, I guess I want to plug the Health Sciences Musical. Like, we hold it every year. I think March or April. It's McMaster University, Hamilton. So if anyone is around, like, I'll be producing the show. So come on out.
So you guys, if you're in the States, you're listening to this, you guys can come up. Paul's willing to. You can stay on his couch if you want to see it. So I'm just volunteering that for you now. But anyways, you guys know for me, everything is in the description. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and check out, subscribe on YouTube, and all that stuff. Check it on the description. We'll chat with you guys next week.